And we're back. Welcome back to the Auto Authorities podcast. I am Jay. This is Gerald coming to you live. Wow, do we have a good one today? Because I wrote a book called How to Buy a Car Without the Nonsense. And Gerald and I are going to literally go through the book step by step. We're going to do a two-part episode from start to finish, exactly what you need to do when you go buy a car, written by experts. I've been doing this over 27 years, Gerald. I don't know how long you've been doing this. 23,
Almost 30.
24 years, something like
Almost
that.
30. Yeah.
A long time. So anyway, we're going to talk about a 7-step process, and the big mistake that people make is they go from step 1 to step 7, and it really starts with researching the car you are looking for. Like, how do you, like, I can tell you how I think you should research. I think that you should go to all the sites, but not just like Kelly Blue Book and Edmunds and Car and Driver and Motor Trend, because a lot of those are really skewed. What I recommend is that you go to the forums, like the things that the people were actually writing about, because you will learn really quickly about that car, and it is not skewed whatsoever. And I truly believe like Consumer Reports and Motor Trend and Car and Driver, those are advertising driven, and those results are skewed. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, there's definitely something to be said for that. And something that's really prevalent now that you see, subscribe to automotive news or car news on your Google News
Mm,
feed or your Apple News feed, and you'll get dozens of articles every day. Read a couple paragraphs into it. It's painfully obvious that they're just AI generated because it's just garbage. I
mm,
mean, it's written in ways that nobody would ever talk. Nobody describes a vehicle as stately elegance that meets the needs of the modern buyer. Nobody's ever going to say that. That wasn't written. That's a computer program just slamming word salad together. So you can read tons of articles, but are you really getting anything that's honest? Are you actually getting any real information? In a lot of cases, you're not. And then a lot of the other sites, like you said, they're bought and paid for. I mean, here, Consumer Reports used to be the absolute gold standard. And you still hear customers saying, well, I got to check Consumer Reports. I'll save you the time. Consumer Reports loves Kia now. Do you think Kia pays Consumer Reports a bunch of money to be the most loved brand? Yeah, sure they do. And Kias are fine, they're good cars. But can you tell me that Kia is really better than Honda and Toyota at every category? No, that's crazy.
no.
But, Consumer Reports is bought and paid for it for the most part. Not all of it, but their cars sure are.
Perception is not reality, folks, and the things that you think are real most of the time are not real. And what Gerald's saying is absolutely true. If you just go on the actual forums written by people that actually own those vehicles, you will know more about that vehicle than you could ever imagine. And I'm going to give you a golden nugget. We had somebody come to us yesterday at iAuto Agent, and they were looking for like a really high end vehicle. And they were looking for the electric Escalade. And
Mm,
I said, let me tell you something. Anytime you buy something the first year it comes out, you become the laboratory test rat, because they need somebody to test them. So why not you, the one that has to get to the first, the first one out off the line? Well, guess what? You may have a warranty with that vehicle when it's new, but when that
hmm
vehicle's sitting in the shop all the time because they can't figure out what the heck's wrong with it, and they don't know the fix for it, don't come crying to me.
Yeah, I mean, the Jeep Renegade, when it first came out, and there had been very, very little coverage, very few reviews because the Renegade's actually, it's dead now. They killed the car. It was made in Italy. It was essentially a modified Fiat 500X, a lifted Fiat 500X. So nobody had ever seen the thing, and they changed the software to accommodate the Jeep four-wheel drive system. Those things had dozens of recalls right out of the block,
Yep.
and a lot of them actually ended up bricking the car. It just stopped. It got the Christmas tree package, every light came on, and it was dead on the road. And the crazy thing is, all it needed was a software reflash, and then they were good to go. But they
Yep.
couldn't figure out the software flash. So the people would get it flashed, they'd be good to go, drive it for a couple weeks, and then it would brick again. We'd have to tow them in and get it reflashed. And they finally figured it out like the eighth or ninth time.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, that is a perfect example because it's a car that they rushed to market. They didn't really test it. And yeah, the test subjects were the first people who bought them.
It's easier also, like if you're looking at a used car, because there's going to be a lot of data out there. If you're looking at that new car that just came out, there's not going to be as much data. But I think like so going, the next step 2 out of 7 is making sure that you vet the dealer's reputation. I cannot stress this enough. And I don't know how you feel, but there is, and I'm just going to say what my opinion is. There's something called Dealer Rater out there. And I think because Dealer Rater came out back when I was selling cars,
Hmm.
if you look at just the Dealer Rater reputation, you're not going to get the real true what is the reputation of the dealer. You got to go deeper than that. You've got to go to like just do a Google search for that dealership, and you will find out everything that is written about them. And then also look for patterns of red flags of certain things that are said by multiple people. That will tell you how that dealer works. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Dealer Rater was a good idea, and they used to be an independent company. They haven't been for years. It's part of a package with Auto Trader now, and
Okay.
it's a pay to play. I mean, it just is.
Yeah.
And Auto Trader isn't what it used to be because you can pay your way to the top of Auto Trader. Now they have some great commercials
True.
out right now with Keena Thompson from Saturday Night Live, but it's not reality because Auto Trader 100% definitively does not rate the cars based on the best deals. The cars are rated based on whoever pays the most geographically to Auto Trader to take over the page. So if you just have a standard Auto Trader listing, your car may be the best in the market. It may be 90% of the market price wise. It's going to
Yeah.
show like eighth or ninth.
Yeah.
So don't just go by the initial listing on Auto Trader. If you're going to go on there, you got to dig in. And that's the same, let's say, editorial mindset that is running Dealer Rater. A better one here, because this one actually is reality, because most manufacturers require you to use Carfax. Carfax is now giving out the Golden Carfox. And if the dealership's a 5-time rated Golden Carfox dealer, that means they won it every time they've done it. It's the top 10% of Carfax dealerships. So by nature, that's the top 10% of most dealerships nationally. So if you just want to look for one thing, go to Carfax, because Carfax is the buying service now, the listing service that does not do a pay for play. Cars.com, bought and paid for. Auto Trader, bought and paid for. Car Gurus, they used to talk about the best deal. They used to give you the best deal, bought and paid for. Carfax, the Carfox, the symbol of honesty in car dealerships now, not bought and paid for. The cars stand on their own weight and their own merit. So that's a great way to research the dealership. If they've got 5 golden Carfoxes, they're pretty well run, because that's actually a legitimate report site. It's a legitimate dealer rating site, and you can't buy your way to influence it. It's actually a real number. The rest of them, Google's fair too. Google's a real number too.
Well,
Everything
that's what
else bought and paid for. It's meaningless.
that's what I was going to say. And one thing that I really, really like to do when I'm doing like it's not me, but what I used to do this now that my iAuto agent team does. But basically, what we do is when we're looking at, like you said, Google reviews, we're also looking for some of the names that are mentioned in Google reviews. So, like, for example, you know, Bobby was such a great salesperson. He really took care of us. Bobby was this, Bobby was that. And if there are consistent reviews with that person's name, instead of playing life is a lot like a box of chocolates when you go into the dealership, you never know which salesperson you're going to get. If you go into that dealership, you can ask for Bobby. In fact, actually, even better than that, call Bobby and tell
Yeah.
Bobby that you want to work with him and let him know, like, hey, you had really good ratings. We would like to work with you. It's better to work with the manager, but most of the time you're not going to get to the manager. You'll never get you will never get to the manager as a consumer. We even as a company, when we go out and we have our vehicle finder program, when we're finding vehicles at iAuto Agent, then sometimes we can, sometimes we can't, but we get to somebody that can make a decision. And looks like you've got your little, yeah,
Yeah.
you
I
don't
mean,
want to meet this guy.
if you get Grady the sales badger, you don't want to get the Grady, because
No.
he's the old. You ask the direct question, "Hey, what used cars do you have for under 20,000?" And the answer you get back is something like, "Well, we got a lot of them, but you got to come in to see the pricing."
Uh-huh.
Uh, Hang up. There's plenty of dealerships. If you get Grady on the phone, just hang up, because he's not going to change.
No, and there's a lot of Grady's. That's why I'm
Oh yeah,
saying, like, if you can go on Google reviews and you see Bobby's name multiple times, and step 3 is set up the time with Bobby and go on the test drive, but set a specific time. Like, have Bobby like go out there first of all to make sure the vehicle is available. I'm going to say 75% of the time that when we look at a vehicle online, and especially if it's a really good deal, 9 times out of 10, you will show up and that vehicle will not be available. They will not know where it is. It had been sold, all the above. But if Bobby knows that you're coming in at 4 o'clock, you're going to have a better chance of not having to wait around when you go to the dealer. These are freaking golden nuggets, folks. Like, we're
yeah.
telling you how to do this.
Yeah, because what you're looking at too, dealership websites have really lost a lot of efficacy since COVID hit. It was different when every dealership had 300 cars sitting there. Now, a lot of dealership websites, they update 8, 12 hours increments, but if you only have one of each car, the odds of that dealership website being 100% accurate are almost zero. Because here, say a decent sized dealership on a Saturday, they sell 15 cars. Well, if they only got 100 cars in stock, I mean, pretty good odds that it's going to be wrong. And a lot of dealerships now, too, unless you dig into it, it's a little bit deceptive. Every GM dealership has a computer generated picture. They bought tech from Carvana. So the pictures you see of the cars on GM dealerships aren't the real car. It's computer generated off of VinExplosion. And they're showing incoming cars. So a dealership that may show they have 150 cars on the ground, well, reality is they may only have 30. And out of those 30, they may only have 15 that are available for sale. Because while domestic dealerships are getting hammered in the news, Chevy dealerships are doing pretty good, actually. Your odds of finding an Equinox, a Malibu, or a Trailblazer, or even a Blazer aren't very good. Those cars are selling. And Colorados are selling almost as fast as Toyota Tacomas. So it's definitely well worth your time to call the dealership and set an appointment with either a top rated salesperson that you find online or the internet sales manager. Because at most dealerships, the internet sales manager's job is simply to produce an appointment, to get somebody to show up. So they are going to be the people that are the most motivated to get you there. And a lot of big dealership groups, I'm talking Hendricks, Van Tile, Berkshire Hathaway, they are set up that if the internet sales manager set the appointment, the internet sales department, that car is pulled, parked up front, and ready with your name on it until that appointment time, and then they clear it. So if it's a big dealership, a big national dealership, they have an internet sales department, call and ask for them. They're going to be the most helpful to you because they're paid once you show up. They want you to show up and be happy.
And that's exactly what I was going to say, is that these internet sales managers that you work with, they're working purely on volume. They're not worried so much about the gross profit of the vehicle. And truly, even on the used car side, is the same thing. It's a
Yep.
very different type of a sale working with somebody like that than just working with a regular salesperson that's out there trying to make a gross profit. And here's a big, on step 3, when you do take a test drive, do not just take a 5-minute test drive around the block, especially if you're buying a used car. You have to figure out, like, I got to drive this thing and I got to get it up into highway speeds. Hit the brakes. Are they pulsating? Do you hear like squeaks and noises when you get in the vehicle? Does it smell musty like it's been in a flood? Like, you really, really want to be watching those things. And truly, this too, take your time and test all the buttons in the car. Make sure the power locks and power windows work. Gerald will tell you, and I have seen this, these vehicles go through the service department so freaking quickly, so quick. It's very, very possible that they could miss something. They're not going to miss that it needs tires. They're not going to miss those types of things but they may miss that maybe the radio volume doesn't work, or maybe
Yeah.
the air conditioning switch may not have all the different settings. I mean, try all those things out and don't feel rushed. And the other thing is too, is when you are test driving that vehicle, leave yourself amount of time to test drive it. Test drive it for 20 or 30 minutes, like, and then check for oil leaks, like, after you've been driving it. Is it leaking oil down there? I mean, it depends on if you're driving a 10,000 mile vehicle or you're buying a 110,000 mile vehicle. It's very important that you do that. And that's really what I wanted to leave off with, and in this first part of our series here.
Yeah, that's a great point on checking the electronics because at most dealerships, unless you're getting a certified pre-owned vehicle, they don't even check the radio. So, yeah, while you're in there, if it has some service like Uconnect, like Blue Link, like OnStar, touchscreen navigation, try it, see if it works.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to buy the car and then have to replace the touchscreen because touchscreens can run up to $6,000. And in a lot of cases, they do run the car's heating and cooling system too. So you want to make darn sure that thing works. Yeah, very true. You gotta take a little bit of time.
Yeah, so we're going to end on that, but for everybody that's listening, please go to the YouTube page, the Auto Authorities, and hit subscribe and notify. We want you to keep continuing to listen to us, and we want you to have the value that we bring every single week. And then also, Facebook group page on Tuesday at 12 p.m. we go live, and we're live on LinkedIn, and we have 19 other different channels that you can go to, the autoauthorities.com, Pandora, like anything out there. But we want to hear your comments. Leave them below. We really hope that you find this valuable, and we will see you on the next episode for part 2. Peace.